Hi there, great to be here today. My name is Craig Clair. I'm a principal analyst and a VP at Forrester Research, where I've been an analyst for over 10 years. My area of interest today is automation, and in particular robotic process automation, how automation can be used to really enable and build the next generation of customer experience. After vendor selection, which is the top of the list in terms of calls that Forrester gets, the next most important topic for our clients anyway is what I call operating models. How are companies working to scale this technology? 70 or 80% are in proof of concept or pilot, or they're evaluating technologies or trying to figure out how to use it internally. So it's very early in this market. A very important question to ask right now is when I have hundreds of bots running around my operation, how do I manage them? How do I operate at scale? So when you look at operating models, the one thing everyone agrees on is that this is a business-led technology automation. In other words, the business will do the design. The business understands the human worker and the process. They need to be able to design the digital worker with the bot. So there's very little disagreement on that. I think where the rub comes in is where should be the control of the operations. There's an aspect of this software that's called the control tower, and that is what gives you the ability to monitor and manage and change bot activity and so forth. And that is, for half of the companies, that should be a technology management. In other words, not in the business. You don't want the business taking down and managing robots. But for the other half, they feel that you really have to provide accountability and ownership of the RPA development to the business. You can't go halfway. So maybe have a shared control tower that is provisioned by technology management, but give individual partitions to the business so they can both design the robots and they can manage the robots. So that's really important. The thing that I focused on a lot, because I've seen RPA projects stall because of some of these issues, is the technology management plays a very important role. Not only are they providing subject matter expertise to the business, but they're managing it what I call a control framework. And I have 10 points to the one that I published recently. The control framework basically says we're going to review any bot before it goes into production to make sure that it meets our security goals. I won't go into the list of security issues with this technology, but they are very interesting and they're very different than what you've had experience before. We have to look at business continuity. You can't spend decades having high availability for your SAP implementation and then just start putting bots in the middle of those transactions and not have the same level of availability and business continuity. I won't go through the whole list, but before a bot goes into production, technology management has to put a stamp on it. Is this an appropriate process to robotize? Some are just not. Some you want to do the modernization and not robotize. Others may be too unstable. Maybe there are too many changes in the application. So if you nestle up a bot to it, that's going to be problematic over time. Technology management needs to enforce coding standards. The business may not have the programming depth that technology management has. So building bots of too much complexity, which is a common problem I've seen, where there's too much FTE augmentation that's ambitiously designed, and you end up building a complicated macro that doesn't adhere to coding standards, and it's thrown over the wall for technology management to fix. So very, very important to get on board with coding standards as well as some other areas. As companies start to build these operating models that we just talked about, a question always comes to me as to, well, how many people do I need to support this? What are the real costs of running a digital workforce? This is well beyond the cost of the bot that you might be licensing from a particular provider. There's bot costs, there are infrastructure costs. Some architectures for RPA have a relationship of one bot per virtual machine that you need to manage. If you're doing high availability, that's 2 virtual machines that you need. And so there's the infrastructure costs, the licensing costs, but the bigger costs are really the support you need, both designers that may be in the business, both operations and management people that might be in technology management. So I've developed a formula, a very simple formula for estimating that, which is if you're targeting 100 FTEs to augment, why not take 10% of those or 15% and say, well, that's going to be my holdback for supporting this. So if there are 100 FTEs that I'm going to replace, there are going to be 10 to 15 people that I need to support that digital workforce. And they're going to be split in some way. Now, the split that I've seen leading companies have, 2/3 of those are in the business. They're designing and building bots and fixing bots and doing all kinds of things in the business, and 1/3 in technology management for managing that control framework. So there are costs that are beyond, you have to look beyond the bot licensing price and beyond the infrastructure price, and look at the overall support costs for really building the operational model at scale.